The Fire Within podcast. You need a sustainable plan, the right mindset, and the knowledge and inspiration to stoke the fire within. Just like the phoenix, you can burn your old habits, never turn back, and emerge completely anew. There are no shortcuts.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are not meant to be used as medical advice. Consult your doctor before implementing any health or exercise changes. The Fire Within encourages you to do your own research and aims to spark interest and motivation to a healthier lifestyle.
Welcome, Fire Within Nation. This is the Fire Within podcast where we talk about all things health, wellness, and nutrition related. I'm your host, Brandon Woolley, with my co-host, Joe.
Hello.
Today we have a guest named Alvin. And Alvin, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alvin Miles. I'm a biomechanics specialist, also formerly a two-time Olympic contender, 2012 Olympics and 2004 Olympics. Pretty much to give a premise of what I do, I help you understand how your body communicates with yourself. Typically, we run into issues where we're stuck and we're trying to figure out how do I live a new life cycle, and I'm trying to get back or get forward to where I have to be. And I have an issue myself before in my past. I had a traumatic situation where in 2015, training for the Olympic trials, I had an injury where my leg literally went back like an ostrich, just to give you a good verbal picture.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had to overcome that myself in that process. So I started to put a lot of work on myself and neural work on myself, seeing what's going on with my brain, what's going on with my body. And I turned out to be that I never had an injury before, but in my life cycle, I thought about what would happen if I got injured. How would I look at it? So when it happened, because I already planted inside of my neural system, I had a trauma situation. Prior to that, I had injured before when I was 12, so it kind of lived with me a little longer as well. So what I did for myself, when I was told 2 years would take to heal, it took me like 9 months to really recover, and I was back up running. Did not make it to the 2016 Olympics trials, but however, I was able to continue and run after that and just become another world-class athlete again.
So what was the nature of this injury? Like, what happened?
So I had a rebound moment where I sat out for about 2 years, and this specialty coach told me to come check him out and see what he can do. And so he said, all right, let's get one more in, got it on videotape, and I was going over the hurdle, and my left leg literally stayed behind me. My right leg continued to go, and then my leg bent into itself. So I tore my ACL, my PCL, my LCL, and 2 parts of my meniscus. So that happened to me, and I was like, okay, so somebody put this thing back in. I wasn't like screaming. I was like, put my leg back in. That's all I said. And it was kind of crazy. But however, off of the whole process, I did go to physical therapy, and I said, all right, Alvin, what do you know about this? You're being a patient now, but how do you know by what you do to help yourself in this area? And that's what I started doing, is start using my own algorithms, my own processes, and saying, okay, what is this going to help me as I help everybody else in the process? So.
Wow, okay. So everything you focus on is primarily biomechanics and how it's related neurologically?
Yes.
That's correct? Now, is there some tie-in with like chiropractic and what you do? I just went for the first time in my life at Ladue. They're pretty good over there. And I learned all kinds of crazy stuff. I never had my spine looked at, and my spine wasn't terrible. My hips were all jacked up, but he had this amazing chart on the wall where every vertebrae had nerves that did different things.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like mess with your thyroid or your vision, or my girlfriend has a lot of headaches, and her x-ray showed that top cervical vertebrae was impinging on that nerve. So when you say neurologically, is that what you mean, or what do you mean?
In that area too, because I'm very big on chiropractic adjustments as well. I believe everybody's body is different. My motto is move in your own blueprint. So when I do see the actual vertebrates on the body from the spinal cord, it makes sense because you can pinch a nerve and literally cut off part of your body in a split second.
Yeah.
However, in the same sense, what if your body's not meant to be straight or actual set like the skeleton we see in the stores or inside of the classroom? So I do look at both algorithms and say, how's your body fit for you? If you're pinching a nerve, let's look at it. Let's do a few adjustments, get your body going in that way. If you're not, let's see what's really the best way to build your body into the direction it needs to be in.
So that's way different because everybody's trying to get you to the 45-degree angle, this, that, and the other. Now, what are the parameters that would necessitate not going to that? Would it be fascia? Would it be our imbalance that have created neural patterns that if we tried to put you back, you wouldn't work properly? Because this is a perspective I've never heard.
Yeah, so pretty much your fascia is, of course, one of the largest tissues next to the skin inside of your body.
And for the listeners that don't know what fascia is,
And
can
me.
you...
Yeah, just me.
And for Joe, tell us in your words, what is fascia?
Fascia, I would say, is the perfect plastic wrap for your body to keep all your muscles together. That's what I would say. It's like if you're putting your body inside of a vacuum and you need something to hold all your muscles together. That fascia, if it gets hard or loses fluid inside of it, it can't function and help your body function better. So if you do use your fascia, if we use our fascia for an example, we really can catch ourselves getting tight, sore ligaments. We say ligaments, muscles sore, everything like that. But our fascia really is one of the problems we have because we're not trained to have the fascia flush or have lymphatic movements inside of our body. We typically think it happens automatically by this, okay, life is getting old, I'm getting older, so my body has to do this. But then your blueprint may not be set that way. And we look at the other angles as well that goes with your body, circulation. We look at your brain patterns, your lifestyle, how you work every day. How do you sit? How do you stand? How do you walk? How do you sleep? All those things make a very big difference in how your body functions.
Wow. Okay. So now, have you looked into Graston and like that Anatomy Trains book?
Yeah.
And listeners, if you want to check out the Anatomy Trains book, I think if you just want to look at the introduction and chapter 1, after that, it gets pretty in-depth and sciencey. But that first chapter, I think the main takeaway and why fascia is so important is that the body is not just a bunch of bones stacked on each other, like we see on that muscle, on that skeleton, but rather there's an intricate tensegrity structure, which if you think about it like a sailboat, you have different masts and different ropes and all kinds of things pulling from different directions that help keep things centered where they're supposed to be. So we can't just look at the spine. We can't just look at the muscle, and we can't just look at the fascia. We have to consider all these things as separate components that work together.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent.
No, I liked it. That was perfect. So, I really appreciate someone who understands the same modalities that I actually follow. So that's very key that you mentioned that, because I think we actually follow the paper print regimen sometimes. Like, let's just see what the paper says to do some burpees and do a few sit-ups, and your endorphins are feeling good. Your body's feeling all warmed up, and you're stretching the wrong way. You're stretching out of your range of motion. And like, next thing you know, you're doing this and your brain's like, I got this down. I'm good to go. You sit off, and then your body's like, okay, guys, let's come back in. And like, what do you do? Do you repeat the process, or do you see a specialist, or how do you function and do everything? So,
yeah. I'm going to go off on another sidebar here. You mentioned stretch too far. There's all kinds of conflicting information there's the active isolated stretching, there's muscle activation technique. Some people say foam roll, some people say don't foam roll. Can you give us some guidance on what is correct here?
Yeah. So my main thing is push it, don't pull it. So if you focus on your body, pushing into an actual area, and like you mentioned, my way of saying is active release therapy. People have heard of that as people say the ART technique, active release therapy or technique, where you're actually pushing into a muscle, because every time your muscle moves, it's actually doing a pulling action already on its own. The muscle really actually contracts. Muscle actually pulls apart. It spreads apart. Even when you flex your bicep, your muscle is spreading apart. So if you're pulling it beyond a range that you're thinking it feels good because you can touch the range, there's no support in that range. So we want to learn how to build our muscle in every degree of the body. If I feel good by stretching, I may be opening up my circulation area and feeling good for a temporal time. But however, on the long term, you're actually causing damage, and you're not knowing how many of your cell walls you're breaking down that need to actually be in that place where it is. So we want to build muscle for each degree of your body, so you have a better understanding on how you can function better.
Okay. Cool. Now that I'm done with my tangents, anything to add, Joe?
This is a little bit more academic knowledge than I have. I was walking through, Alvin and I share an office space, and I was walking through the other day and saw the Grey's Anatomy out, and he was reading it, and I was like, oh, that's a good TV show. You ever seen it?
Yeah. I remember we talked about that. I was like,
but it was the actual Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, it was the book. Yeah.
It's like I recently saw a little bit of the show.
Yeah.
But you're always out here and you're training people and you're reviewing their movement and their technique and trying to help I assume, try to help guide them and find the right way for them to work out, right?
Yes.
So when you're doing training with people, is that a traditional sense of training where they work out with you a couple times a week and it's for just the weight loss and general health, or is it a little bit more involved?
So we call them development sessions, because technically sometimes we don't always do a basic training. The word training regimen is not always how we set it. It depends what we're doing that day. We can do anything. We can do Pilates. We can do a little bit of boxing and kickboxing, and it depends on the person's need for their environmental or proposal that's being actually put on the table. And sometimes we'll just sit there, we'll do fascial work, we'll do range of motion work, we'll do a few things with a few therapy modalities that have, as cupping, whatever it may be. and we put it all together. And I have a little computer system too, where I have 3D analysis cameras where I can see how the body moves left and right. So I'm able to say, okay, for this day, when you come to me, I can't just say, all right, I got your workout ready, do it no matter what. No, I have to have every angle prepared, because if you're coming in, your attitude's not right, you may not want to boost your attitude up. How can I help ease and have you actually build in the weak places? And that's one thing I'm focusing on now. Like, you may feel like I just can't do it today, but how do we build in that place? That's very, very major. So
what does fascia work look like?
Well, it depends, because people sometimes think it's pain. Sometimes they think it's a good hurt pain, or I don't know what's happened to my body. So we could do a pressing release around the IT band area. We can go around the psoas area. We can go in the inner parts of the major muscles and find some minor spaces as well. So you can use tools. I have, of course, a massage gun. Get into a few spaces as well. But
yeah, I see those things on Instagram. They look painful when they slow it down
Like
in the
a
body.
It's
going
like
in slow motion, and
They feel good.
they feel good.
Yeah. It's all about getting that circulation in place too.
And then Graston, which we mentioned a minute ago, is essentially, my understanding, you take what looks like a smooth butter knife and you're literally scraping and breaking apart the fascia fibers so that it can regrow as you retrain your body's movement. So that's pretty much it. And sometimes you could look pretty bruised after, and other people look fine after. I guess everybody's different.
Yeah, and people sometimes want to add more than one modality together. We can do cupping, Graston, and sometimes we do like the Y balance machine, which I use another turntable style, which I have a true motion, which gyrotonically it shows me how your body moves on this machine. So it's very key too.
Could you make me a super soldier?
Well, that was kind of fast. We did it for Captain America, a while back. It wasn't me. So yeah, I mean, you can always be as super as you want to be. I think anybody has opportunity to be their best blueprint. So that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
What is cupping? So I've seen it like on TV shows and stuff, so I know kind of what it is, but what's the benefit of it? Because what I've seen, so let me see if I'm on the right page. Basically, somebody gets a cup. It's like a see-through cup, and the way they attach it to somebody's skin is almost like their skin gets sucked up in the cup. That's cupping?
Close to it. Yeah, that's the way it looks like. And that's funny how you said that too, Joe. We sometimes see things and say, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. I don't know. I don't want a big red mark on my body. So
it looks like
stay away.
It looks like a recipe for a hickey. Like, I don't know where I've
It looks
seen
like
it.
you got attacked by an octopus.
Yeah, something was very attracted to you
like
that moment.
suction.
But the whole part of cupping is we want to make sure we can have space moved into the body by making this actual area. It could be damaged tissue. It could be anywhere from having this pain in your back. A lot of times it's really done. And the two ways of doing it, you dry cupping and wet cupping, but people sometimes use glass domes. You can heat the top of the glass dome. The dome actually rises up the skin because you're taking air out of the location. You use the dry cupping, which you have a pump as well. You can pump the actual air out of it and the skin rises up and it removes the air. And when that air is gone, of course, your blood needs oxygen. So it's going to flow the best way it can in that space. Okay, we need air somewhere. We can't get it above the skin. Let's go below the skin. And it moves the air around the area as well.
So if somebody's recovering from an injury, we know that the more oxygen and blood they get to that area, is that supposed to speed up healing? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the most famous case when cupping became mainstream was probably Michael Phelps. He had all them hickey marks on him in the Olympics, and people were like, what the heck is that?
And then he won like 1 billion gold medals, and like, where do I get this cupping?
Yeah. That was actually a good time when people started to come to me about that. They're like, yeah, how's this cupping work for me? I'm like, well, what do you need it for? I want to be like.
So is it a way of getting increased blood pressure on a focus area?
Blood flow, not blood pressure. Well, I got what you're saying though. I got you. So
increased blood flow in a certain area.
So it can speed up healing.
Yeah, exactly.
I already have high blood pressure, so I'm all right with that.
So definitely it does help speed the healing, as you're saying. And then definitely we want to get our body to understand how to move blood through the proper ways. Because if we have an issue with a part of our body that's not really flowing correctly, it could just be because, all right, I need better flow.
Yeah.
So
we talked about a lot of cool topics on this show, and I told Brandon that you are in the process of building a salt room upstairs, and I was asking you a couple of questions about it, but what is the benefit of having a salt room?
Okay, so that's a good one. So the new business is going to be called, it's under Amplify Athletic Performance and Development. It's the name of my company. It's under, the brand name is Amplify, but we're calling this place called Halo, and it's pretty much going to be a purification cave. Typically, you go to a salt room or a salt cave, and they have all Himalayan salt on the wall. And the benefits are it helps your negative ions, which your body needs. It puts negative ions back into your body and releases the positive ions. Helps out with anxiety, stress, better sleep, healing respiratory issues, bronchitis, eczema, I mean, you name it, stress levels, it flushes your body out. At least after 10 or 12 treatments, you're sitting inside of a room full of salt, and it's really just causing your body to sleep, go to a nice little stasis of relaxation, and you don't even realize you're even going to sleep. I mean, we're going to have heated blankets in there, weighted blankets. We're going to have some tarps for you to lay under if you want to do that. We're going to have a salt bed. And there's as well some zero gravity chairs. And also we're going to make it a little bit more advanced. We're doing some charcoal walls inside of there. We're doing some other types of stones. Some selenite's going to be in there as well for purifying air. We're going to have some sea salt and some bowls with some rosemary to help your body breathe and also cleanse the air that you're going to be. So it's going to be a little bit higher, halo style. So therapy is called halo therapy, where we're not doing fully the halo therapy method. We're using the halo generator. We're doing more of the natural, sitting in the salt, sitting around the charcoal, sitting around the other stones to help your body, in quartz as well, help your body have full purification. So.
Now, for those of you listening, and this just sounds like airy-fairy stuff, we've done a couple episodes talking about grounding, and it's similar with those negative ions. And one of the major studies that brought validation to this technique was scientists would test themselves before and after being in contact with a negative ion source. And what they found was blood pressure was remarkably improved because that negative ion would reorganize the blood platelets and allow for them to flow through blood capillaries easier. So people with heart issues, with blood pressure issues, all of a sudden they're after grounding or being in contact with a negative ion like a salt area would have normalized readings after that.
Yeah.
And there's even been cases, people with, neurological issues like MS or Parkinson's, for the longer contact they have with that source, they would be asymptomatic for hours and hours after. And the longer they were away from that negative grounding effect, the more those symptoms came back.
Am I remembering correctly too? I thought you mentioned something about it helping with inflammation as well.
Yes.
Correct.
It definitely does. Yeah.
Now, I get asked a lot, what is inflammation? And a lot of people, is like a smack all term, or can you explain to us in your words what inflammation is?
So inflammation actually is not a bad thing if you think about it. It's the term in the body it stays in, it makes it bad. Inflammation has a lot of the nutrients our body needs for healing. I think sometimes we look at it as a bad issue because it swells up. It's like anything it has to protect in your body. Fat protects your body. You actually swell up. So inflammation for that time period, no longer than 7 days, people recommend. It causes a healing process for a tissue that may be torn. You could have actually issues inside your fascia could be a problem too, but it's just a fluid protectant. Now, having it for a long period of time, it causes other areas to have malfunctioning around your muscles and joints. And of course, if you're having more issues below that, and it can really cause some damage. So
I would have thought it would have had something to do with like chronic, like hand pain, like arthritis or something along that line.
I have something about the arthritis part. That's another thing. So me personally, I would say arthritis is actually a lack of building up muscle and training the arms, because sometimes we think that arthritis is just, oh, my knuckles are just cracking and are swollen. But if you're doing something over the time for typing for a long time and you're not building another muscle behind it, there's no fluidity inside of the fingers.
That's interesting.
So your fingers actually lock in place. And so we've been trained to know it's only arthritis because we can't have any more movement inside of our fingers, but it's always a secondary muscle or a joint behind that. So I would say building the forearms up helps better flexation inside of the fingers.
So Popeye didn't have arthritis.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So
now, some spinach cans, yeah.
Now, so that makes sense biomechanically. Now, I wonder if there's a different type of arthritis that has more to do with glycation and wearing down. Because I know a lot of people, when they cut wheat grain and corn and dairy out, a lot of their arthritis issues go away.
Yeah.
But we know that glycation is sugar proteins sticking to, or sugar sticking to proteins and rendering them useless, breaking it down. So, but that's interesting. I wonder if more acute issues like that could be that breaking down. Now, even like carpal tunnel, for instance.
Yeah. And that's one thing about it. When I see people, I'm like, let's look at your blueprint.
Yeah.
Back to the blueprint again. Don't say it because it looks like this. Almost like the cupping, like it looks like you're pulling your skin out of your body. Like we just don't want to say it because it reminds us of this very thing, and that causes our neural system to believe it's only just that. It could be something else differently. Your lifestyle will determine what you're doing. So I can't just say, well, the paper says, all right, your back's hurting. Let me go ahead and, crack it a few times and chop it down. That may not be the thing for you.
Yeah.
So
do you have any cool examples of somebody thinking that it was something like that, but it turns out it was actually something completely different? Yes. And when they changed something else, it affected that issue?
Literally about 80% of people I see. So I can give you an example. I know someone who was supposed to have a major surgery on their knee. And they're like, well, I have to go get this surgery because my knee's hurting and I can't move it that much anymore. And I'm like, Oh, let's look at what's happening here. Let's look at the truth of it. So I went to a physical therapist. I went to such and such and everybody else. I said, well, let's look at it biomechanically. You're thinking this is injured. So you're waking up in the morning, your neural system's already telling you, firing, your augmented system's telling you, hey, I'm already ready to do what you told me to do. It's going to be stuck this way. We're going to move this way. That's it. So let's look a little deeper. All right, what's really happening with this muscle over here? How's your hip flexor going? How's your psoas working? How's your knee really bending when you're moving your hip? Is your knee bending with your hip? We ask questions out loud. We also have a biocommunications machine where I actually can hook you up to it. Of course, it's called bioscanning. I actually can learn what your body's telling you in communication while you're saying it. And if you're quiet enough, I can read all the categories and tell you what all parts of your body you're doing in that same category of that you're feeling the pain. So after that process, I see this one person, for example, we started working more with the hips, the back, start seeing how they were sitting, how they were standing all day. And she was like, wow, like this is totally not what I expected it to be. And literally about 2-3 weeks later, she was like, I can make my knee better. I can move better. And she actually never ran in her life. And prior to this, she actually had 11 surgeries. She's a great recovery over everything. So now she's sprinting and also still has the weight on, like the heavy weight she had. She's sprinting like nothing ever before, like sprinting uphill, not just sprinting straight. So that's just a prime example to show you that very thing we may think is how we feel could actually be not the real thing every time.
Have you ever felt like you were just throwing weights around like an idiot at the gym, hoping to see some results? Or after weeks or months of working out, notice that the scale just isn't moving? You wouldn't cook without a recipe. So why would you train or start a weight loss program like the Swedish chef randomly throwing ingredients into a pot? You need a sustainable plan that's science-based and attainable. Fire Within has worked with thousands of clients and helped them reach their goals. So visit firewithinnf.com today. Get yourself the free ebook, read the testimonials, and choose a service that works for you. Choose from services like one-on-one nutrition coaching, one-on-one personal training, and more. Again, that's firewithinnf.com.
Now, I'd like to dig in a little deeper. You keep mentioning their thought pattern. So this mind-muscle connection. I know they've done studies. If you think about the muscle you want to contract while working it out, there's all different statistics, 17% stronger, whatever. So if they're saying...
I've never heard that. There's a study that if you think about the muscle while you're working it out, it actually becomes stronger.
Because
or you could lift more weight or get more
you'll get better
performance
response, right? Because of the neural connection. And if you're concentrating on that area, it helps. So what you just said is, I'm paraphrasing, this woman woke up and her knees hurt in the past. She goes, my knee's supposed to hurt because she's having that thought pattern that is triggering a sequence of events that is causing pain there that may not need to happen. Exactly. Can you kind of dive into that and talk about more, I guess, usages for understanding that mind-muscle connection and other thought processes?
Got it. So it just depends on how our life goes. We can have trauma situations when we're growing up. We can have other issues where we see something on TV and someone fell and hurt themselves, or we had a friend or environment. How we smell things even is so crazy. Like your smell is the first thing what you smell is the first sensory that breaks down your cell walls. So you can smell a hospital and be like, oh my gosh, my body's not remembering to smell. My body starts to break down. So those areas start to make us feel like this is happening to us on a regular basis. And it really isn't. And it's like the imagery or placebo that our body's giving us. And it's really not the truth. It's just the environment. Like if you notice, if I go on vacation to Hawaii or if I go somewhere else around the country, my environment immediately changes because I'm trying to adapt to that area. It could be the environment inside of your house or someone else's house. And we're always going to be the one looking at, feeling and touching and saying, my environment tells me it has to be this way. So when we take away the environmental problem, which could be any of the senses, we start to really evaluate and say, all right, this, for the lady I say, for example, is really what happened when you were a child, when you wanted to go outside and play. Your mom said no when she gave you a cookie or a donut every time until you go inside because you're too heavy to play. Or when you are just sitting around and you're not having anybody to talk to. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you get a cookie and a donut because that's what all you remember to do to cope with. Or you may sleep a certain way because you're meant to cope that way. And you're finding these other things that make you quote unquote happy, but it's not really actually making you happy. It's just keeping you, I'll just say, stable in the way how your environment tells you to be stable in. So,
okay.
Yeah, like neural habits.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if you've had a past injury or something and you start favoring that side and you just expect it can't handle something. So you almost create an injury in your head.
Makes me think of people that I've heard say things like, I'm not a runner. I just can't run.
Exactly.
And it's like, well,
yeah.
Is that true? Like, are there just people that can't run?
When you were born, your legs learn how to go left and right by themselves already. You didn't look at your legs when you were a kid, say left and right foot. You found the way to make sure your mechanics worked opposite on your body.
Obviously, there's people that are more gifted.
Yeah.
Like you being a professional athlete, you're probably a little bit more runner than Joe. Like there's probably a peak that I could get to.
Well, I'm going to tell you my story about that. In 1996, I was watching TV. Michael Johnson was running. Looked at the TV and I said, I'm going to be there one day. That's all I said. I didn't care. I didn't even like running before.
How old were you then?
I think I was 10, 11 years old. I started running officially when I was 12. And that was right after my first injury. I never did anything. I played football and I didn't do anything with running wise. And I had an injury where I was walking down the hallway and my knee just froze up. I'm like, what's going on? I can't walk. And then the doctor said, you had an ACL tear. Like, how did it happen? I think it was doing like some green bays in the grass, something minor. And the next year I went out and I ran track. I had the highest jump. I had a record back then. 6'5" was my highest high jump in middle school. Then ran the hurdles and ended up getting first place. And I stayed in that position and just kept climbing from those areas. So I told myself by the image I saw, I said, I'm going to be there. I didn't say I would like to be there. I said, wow, I'm going to be there one day. And then so after that, I just kept dreaming and thinking about it, and my environment changed. So even though I could say, people could say, your parents ran or this and that. I've seen people with their parents that ran and their kids don't do anything. I mean, I've seen both perspectives where the parents did run and the kids did run too, because that's their environment. But I told myself, I'm going to be there one day. And that's how I did it. So,
yeah. So your mindset does have a lot to do with what you can and cannot do. I think it's kind of the big takeaway there.
I know for me, the mindset's like whether or not I even work out. Like if you're not in the right mindset, it's tough to even do any work,
That's true.
Yeah. Now going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, like how would somebody, and this has to do with stretching, how would somebody know if they're stretching in an inefficient or unproductive way? What would be a sign?
Well, that's a tricky subject because it's not something we really can tell about how we're stretching, because it's almost like me telling the back of my back looks when I'm looking in the mirror for it. This is what I'm here for, because I could say, oh yeah, you're stretching. Do you feel good? You could say yes. What does that mean to you? I could tell you, well, if you're going too far and you're having to strain, your face changes, that means you're stretching wrong. You could have a tight face no matter what. People's eyebrows strain all the time. So
kind of like resting bitch face.
I guess you could probably say that though. It's like our thoughts can make our face change automatically. So it's just kind of interesting how you put that, because I really can't say there's actually a way to put it, because you could literally walk one way your whole life, and that could be the way how you've been stretching. You could be sitting down and you're stretching your back because you're constantly sitting down, have a limber back.
Okay. So now what you're talking about is unconscious stretching of fascia and muscles.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I just meant more in if I'm taking a few minutes to do some stretching to help with correctives and things like that, or to get ready for a workout.
And that's just in the same flow. It's really tricky to say, hey, I'm having to stretch this way. So I just tell you my algorithm I follow. It's called circulation, repetition, response, and application. So it's four the ways I focus. So I always focus on circulation first. It could be jump roping. It could be, I have this thing called the chi machine, which shakes your legs for you and causes the frequency of your body to move up and down as you're sitting down. Even just using some pressure points and pressing your body. Those are my ways of always starting off and saying warming up and stretch. That's a classical method that's works for some people, but not for everybody. So if you're sitting down a certain way and your body's already set in that way of stretching, if you're having to get up and say, I want to have more range of motion, I wouldn't recommend for me to say, oh yeah, stretch this way and you'll get there. You will be there, but it won't be beneficial you staying there. So what I would rather do is say, let's build muscle per each degree, pretty much 5 to 7 degrees at a time. Build muscle for stability in that place. So your flexibility is based on your muscle strength. I wouldn't say it's based just on how much you can move your body there until you can't control the limit. Because I can have my arm far away somewhere and it could feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing a good job. But hypothetically, I'm sitting here and my arm is there, but can I really support it in that position? Yes, I can. But if I go further back with my arm, can I support it in that position? I can hold it, but what else in my body am I actually tweaking? And so that's why I really build muscle in the place. So when someone says I'm stretching, well, is your flexibility based on your range of motion, or is it just based on how far you can move your body to the extent that it feels good or that it's almost to a strain? And that's not beneficial in the long run. So that's why I would kind of me going against that area as the advocate. I was like, stretching, our body's constantly evolving, our mind's constantly evolving. So I wouldn't say stretching is always the main thing to do these days. Even foam rolling sometimes, where you can roll something too much or
kind of obliterate the muscle.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm big on pressing into the body, pressing into the joints, knowing how to get that body moving in that type of circulation, getting the traffic jam out of the body.
So we covered stretching. We covered a little bit of fascia, Graston technique, and things like that. If somebody wanted to lose weight, what are some of the biomechanical things that can stop them from that?
Gotcha. That's a good one. So trauma, we talked about that before. Habits that we have on our daily activity. And also some medical health problems can cause that to stop when we're thinking about it so much. The body heals itself all the time. And just lack of knowledge, I think. If we're stuck in our old knowledge, stuck in the way how we think about losing weight, and it's not working fast enough. The hoop dream of, I want to lose weight 2 weeks in this amount of pounds, and I lost the weight. Someone else did it, but what kind of weight are you losing? Is you losing the weight you need to have on your body? And if we need the weight in your body already, that can be a problem. Like, how do we get you to see the reality of it? And sometimes people don't want to see the reality. They want to see the hoop dream of like, if I do it this way, it's going to be better for me. But in the same sense, I want to make sure people understand your body's going to have to take time. It took someone I have 2 years literally to lose the proper amount of weight they needed to lose. And it's like, okay, well, I didn't do anything really. I didn't do a lot of workouts. I didn't kill my body with you. I didn't do all this other stuff, because it doesn't take that all the time. You have to go there and drag yourself across the floor to make yourself lose weight. We think it takes all the thermal energy of that. If I can gain the weight without doing anything, if you think the right process, and I say, let's just move your body slightly this way a few times. Let's get that joint moving better. Let's get that muscle activated differently. And you may not feel a lot of pressure, a lot of beat down in your body, but your body is getting adjusted to doing this new motion, this naturally. And off of that, your body says, okay, I have to change everything. All right, guys, let's move on out, bring the new stuff in. Let's go and get our body set right. So that's what I would say for my way of doing it is pretty much understanding what is going on, so you can erase what you thought it actually was going on before that.
Okay. And so some of these improper movement patterns could be some of the things that lead to habits. Mm-hmm. For instance, my knee's supposed to hurt, so I'm not going to exercise. Yes. And then I'm going to cope with that depression with bad eating. Mm-hmm. So it almost comes back to, this has been hammered so much, it almost is painful to say, but find your why.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's still very important, but I think anybody that's worked for a corporate company or is probably tired of hearing that, but I still think it's important getting down to what is that true why, because that is going to change. It can change habits. It can change structural postural positioning even. That can keep you from acting. That's interesting. I never really looked at it from that angle.
Yeah. And typically we're trained to do something in a way of, all right, this is the only way I know how to do it. Go there, bust my butt, work out hard, lose the weight. And are you really the person you're actually becoming? What if you're something else better than what you're actually seeing, and it actually is your own blueprint that tells you this is what I need to be doing for me and my body, not just for something that worked for somebody else, the 30-day squat challenge or something else like that. And it's like, okay, it may be good for a good corral and good moments, stuff like that. But I think you have to really be in a serious place to know how your body can advance in that level if you're going to do that by yourself.
Awesome.
Well, what made you want to do this for a living? Like, what's kind of your why?
So I have been around a lot of different training regimens. I would say personally, I was training with a particular group as far as running, track and field. And I was noticing we were doing the same thing all the time, and everybody was doing the same exact thing. When I came from my location to train with this group, I actually was used to doing something individually for myself. I had my own system. I knew how my body moved. I knew how my body had to do this and everything as such. And so I found myself doing the same regimen and routine. I'm like, am I really getting better? I was actually like more like a rabbit for other people who were trying to get faster. And I started getting slower and slower and slower. And emotional issues started happening. And I'm like, what's going on with my mind? I can't focus the same. My mind is not feeling the same. And after that, I was like, well, let me do my own thing. Of course, the coach got mad because I went off and did my own thing on Saturdays. He was like, don't do anything. Don't do that. You got to follow the regimen. I say, well, it's just, I know you have a historical regimen, but it's something I have to do that I feel in myself that has to be done differently. And of course, that next year I won the national championships. He was like, oh, I know you can do it. And I was like, well, great. So I had from that moment in 2006, I realized, okay, Alvin, you have to do something that makes you you, no matter whoever else says anything else about you. Just what is it going to take for you to do so? I underwent every exercise science program, everything from personal training, everything I could do, herbalism, naturopathic, sports nutrition, sports rehab. And I'm like, what's the very thing that's going to make this all put together? So I started studying biomechanics a lot more. And I've had some wonderful people in my life. Alvin Moses, a great hurdler back in the 80s and 70s. Excellent guy just to show me what biomechanics was about. Angela Taylor, Lauren Seagraves, people who have been around the area. And they were like, well, this is why we do this way. Everybody's body is different. So in that process, I said, well, how do I continue to grow? And I'm like in my 30s, literally running the same times I ran when I was in my teens. And nothing has really fluctuated. So that showed me biomechanically, physically, and also mentally how my body communicates with itself, my body, not just the regimen that someone says, do this here, you're going to get faster. Mm-hmm. Run this way, you got to do 4 300s a day to get your body to go faster. So,
Is there any Olympics in your future?
We'll never know. This year was supposed to be Olympic year, but everything that's happening, we'll never know. I mean, I hear the word 40 in my head, we'll never know. I could be running when I'm 40 and make it again, to Olympic trials. But at this time now, I'm just focusing on one day at a time.
Yeah. I think something important you said about every exercise not being right for everybody and understanding limitations of your body is important. So, for instance, if I go overhead press with the bar, I'm going to have frozen shoulder, guaranteed. So I don't have to do overhead press with the bar. So if there's an exercise you keep doing and your body doesn't like it, listen to your body.
Exactly. That's very true.
Be a good takeaway. Now, what are some of the habits and things that you follow now that help keep you healthy and allow you to stay successful and to keep increasing the limit of what your body can do?
I say this simply, stay out of the matrix. A lot of times when I'm having a busy day, I say that for an example, have to stop and remember, actually say the word, who are you? Like, who are you in this moment? What are you doing? Not what I want to be, what I think I am, but after taking the time and doing the system on myself, remembering the things that I found out about myself that are both good and bad, and saying, well, who are you right now? All right, right now your body is you feel it's whole. And just me being sensitive of my body, I'm very sensitive of my body. So literally in my mind, it's going to sound crazy, but I can correct my body while I'm thinking about it. And literally like do a little movement here and there. I feel the circulation going from my spinal cord all the way down to my hip and down to my knee, et cetera, et cetera. And I do the correction that way. I literally can pause and in my mind and just really make that happen that way because of the communication I have with myself. So that's my main ground level. If I go run today, anything hard, it may be literally 3-4 times out of the month because I've trained my body that much, not just by physicality, just doing everything on the physical standpoint, but just mentally on knowing what's needed to be done. And that resonates inside of me for weeks at a time. And I'm not having to go out there and just kill myself on the track. I have my clients, prime example, a lady I had, she did lose 40 pounds and she lost to 40 pounds in 4 months by meeting me only one time a week. Wow, and literally did nothing else at the house. She didn't change her diet, nothing else like that. Lost 40 pounds in 4 months. Wow. One time a week met me. And she was like, this is crazy. And so now today we had a limbo, of course, because she lost the thought process. It happens. So when she's back on another track with it, she's like, you know what? I still lost the 40 pounds again, but I did the same process. Now I'm losing more weight. But if I didn't lose weight, I understand why now. If I want to lose the weight, I can understand how to now. And that makes everything totally better, totally different for how we address each person's blueprint.
Yeah. And I know we're almost out of time because you got somebody coming in, right?
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things somebody looking to improve their life? What are the top 3 things you would tell them?
Okay. I would say, like I said earlier, know your good and your bad. Not just know everything on the surface level, but know your good and your bad and accept your good and your bad. Other thing I would say, be patient. We all have a process because we all are an answer to something that has not yet been invented. And sometimes we think we have to be here so fast or here so quickly, but just understand your process and be patient with your process. And lastly, I would say literally know your environment. And that's very, very major. Sometimes it's not you, it's your environment. It's your frequencies around you. It's what you're hearing here and there, social media wise, news wise. And if you're letting that environment soak you in, you will change. You'll have fears. You will have a lot of things going on, but that 2% that changes something in the world, those are the ones who have to step out where no one else wants to step out. So know your environment so you know how you have to move in your own blueprint.
Awesome. Now, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you and work with you, how would they find you?
Okay, so the easy way to find me is to type in online, Amplify with an I, not with a Y, Athletic Performance and Development. All our information is on there. Website's coming soon as well because we're adding other things as far as the salt cave to the website. So we're under construction right now. Or you can just contact me simply by my email, which is amplify with an I, not with a Y, blueprint@gmail.com. And also by phone number, it would be 984-277-6220.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your insight. I've never got to talk with an Olympian before. This is neat. Well, the softball one, but even still, this has been incredible. You shared a lot of knowledge with us and some perspective shifts. And I wish your business the best, and we'll have to get you on again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you got a lot of value out of today's episode. If you did, go check us out at firewithinnf.com. You can subscribe to our newsletters and make sure you never miss an episode or any other content. Also, be sure to follow us on social media.